Hey, 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 you made it, and I made it, and we made it together. Here we are at the live stream of consciousness, the place that always puts a smile on my face. It's my happy place. I've created this broadcast to connect with everybody out there. What's up, Leela? Lily, Lily Ninja. I combined Lily and Ninja, and I called you Leela. Um, I created this place to connect and exchange energy, and it's just been an amazing, amazing experience. I'm so happy, especially tonight. I kind of was looking around the internet and I saw quite a bit of people promoting the show, my guest and Carrie Ann, and people who are in this local Long Island spiritual community who are really coming together and supporting each other and through this energy exchange, giving each other energy and raising the vibration of the whole scene. It just seems great. And there's Jilly B. What's up, Jilly? Good to see you. I hope you've got your popcorn going. Um, but I'm here again. I'm just showing up. We talked about that last week, and it's been still a prominent message, to just show up, no matter who you are, no matter what you think you may or may not offer to a situation. Just show up, which actually reminds me of a philosophy that I thought about, and that was showing up to situations. Julie has her popcorn. Awesome. Showing up to situations, and that is, a lot of times, I think people, society, the world, we've been kind of conditioned to show up places and have expectations of, what am I getting out of this situation? What am I entitled to? And I always said, if people show up to a situation and have the attitude of, what can I bring to this situation? What can I add to this situation? The situation would be so much better. It's like one of those bring your own dish buffets, right? If everybody brings something really good, it's an amazing, amazing experience. Everybody gets to eat. But if you go there and you're like, I'm gonna bring, a can of corn and just eat everybody else's good food, it's not gonna work out that way. But anyway, Julie just showed up. Awesome. So yeah, it's interesting. Jill and I were speaking, and there's some really interesting people coming on the radar, some authors that I've invited on the show and said yes. So I'll be talking about that soon. I'm just super excited about the I don't want to say the caliber of people, but I want to say the vibration. I'm super excited about the vibration of the people who are coming onto the show, supporting the show. So if you are here from seeing it on Facebook in one of the groups, thank you for coming. You're totally welcome here. Thank you for sharing it and being here and all of that stuff. All right, enough love. Well, no, there's never enough love, but um I am going to get on with the show. I'm going to have the conversation with my guest. I'm going to talk about my guest. My next guest is somebody who came on my radar through another guest. So, Sunshine, who was one of the guests on the show, there was a woman watching the show who was connected to Sunshine. And we were talking about a story, one of my favorite stories here on the live stream, which is forgiving Hitler. The whole idea of having forgiveness for no matter what it might be, no matter how evil it might seem, having forgiveness. And Sunshine and I were talking about that, for some reason, and she had just experienced a meditation. And at the time, I didn't know tonight's guest, Carla, but she said, "Oh yeah, the woman had channeled Hitler, and we all got the chance to forgive him." And it was just like so validating of those thoughts that I'd been having about even the idea, of forgiving Hitler and that kind of thing. So that was kind of like we crossed paths very abstractly in that moment. I didn't really know who she was, and then months later, I think we met at the New Life Expo, which was a whole bunch of healers. And she came up to me and she said, "Hey, you're Michael Zinn." And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't recognize this person." But she knows who I am. I must have met her somewhere. And I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Good to see you." and I didn't know who she was until right away she kind of identified who she was, and I realized who she was, and it was just awesome. It was a good vibration, and since then I think she's been on my radar, and we've been supposed to talk. I'm supposed to bring her here, and this moment is supposed to happen. So welcome to the live stream of consciousness, Carla Gitto.
Hi, thank you.
Am I saying your last name right?
That's good. That's good. Gitto, but that's good.
Oh, Gitto. No, that's not good. Don't say that's good.
It's
It's
good.
if it's Gitto, I need to say. I mean, if it's Gitto, I need to say Gitto. I'm thinking Carla Gitto the whole time, but how you doing, Carla Gitto? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. This is it's exciting, and I love what you're doing. You know, bringing all the healers together, and even book authors, like you mentioned, where we get to shine our light and bring forth the wisdom, the knowledge, the things that we've learned along the way in our personal journey, right? Because as we spoke about before, when you show up, you don't know how you're going to impact somebody, you know, and there's billions of people in the world, and we may hear something 3, 4, 5 times, and then there's that one person that all of a sudden triggers that spark. You're like, oh wow, but I've heard that so many other times. Wow. Okay, you know, so thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm excited.
Well, thank you for showing up. And the thing that I always hear when I hear that story and that interaction, like you show up and you never know who you're going to impact. And I know all of the healers know this, but it's like the underside of it, and nobody ever speaks about it. But it goes both ways. So when you affect somebody as a healer, you're getting a little bit of healing yourself. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, like I really affected that person, and you're coming into your own power, and you're healing. You know, I think essentially.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you know, when we show up, and even though we're in the position to help another, we're also helping ourselves, because oftentimes when we witness or experience, this is my belief, you know, we all have different beliefs, and this is what makes us so amazing as you know, individuals and spirituals, and having this whole human existence. When we show up, or we cross that path that an experience shows up that we bear witness to, it's an opportunity for us to heal something within us, but it's also an opportunity for the next person to heal. So there's always that exchange of heartfelt energy that occurs.
Absolutely.
Between people. So absolutely.
That's a big thing here on the live stream, is talking about that energy exchange. But it's funny because you asked me before the show, we were talking a little bit, and you asked me, all right, how's this going to go? And really, you know, the live stream is a place. It's my happy place to create space for people like you who have these really interesting stories and obvious connections to source and whatever that gift might be. Psychic mediums, Akashic records, all of these amazing people who have been coming into my field, I think because of my vibration, and really being able to relate and understand these people on a level, you know, where I don't even question what it is their modality is. I just kind of like relate to them, and I learn from it, and we both expand, you know, just from our relationship, like we're just talking about. Somebody's sending you some love. I just want to acknowledge Sharon. Love you, Carla.
Sharon, love you.
Thank you, Sharon, for coming to the live stream of consciousness. I'm gonna fix my screen here. It looks like it was tilted down from I was doing some work earlier. There we go. So you're really here to talk about what you do and be you, and you showed up to do that. But there is a part of the show, if you haven't watched it, there are a couple of questions that you got to ask before we get into that, or you got to answer.
Oh, I got to ask. Oh, okay.
No, you got to answer. I ask them, you answer them.
Oh, okay.
But it's pretty much a ritual here, and I think you'll understand why in just a minute. Stephanie is here too, expressing her love. Welcome,
Hi,
Stephanie, to the live stream of consciousness. This is the live stream of consciousness. So really, we got to set a baseline, and you need to express to me, what is your definition of consciousness? What is consciousness?
Whoa, that's big. Okay, that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
Consciousness to me is awareness, about being aware, being present, right? So when we're aware of who we are, we're aware of our surroundings, it opens an opportunity for reflection. How did I show up? How can I be better? How can I have a bigger impact? What did I receive? We can ask ourselves different questions when we're consciously aware. And we can grow and evolve when we're present, and we can expand our light much easier. So consciousness, that's like, it's so huge. I mean, we can have a whole topic about this for like all night, you know?
I have a whole show about it.
It's so huge. It's so vast because, right, we walk around, I get in my car, let's say, right, I get in my car, I drive my car. And I know that I'm going to go from point A to point B. And I just do it. It becomes like an automatic pilot, right? So am I conscious in that minute? I'm on autopilot. I know that that's where I'm going and I'm just driving. But when I'm consciously aware, it's like, you know, we have like those blinders sometimes, right? And when we become consciously aware, it opens up that peripheral vision so that you can see everything around you. It broadens your perspective, you know, and you can take in things that you may not have noticed because you're more aware of your entire environment and your participation in the environment that you're in.
Right.
So consciousness it's huge. It's huge. And
Yeah.
I think too, sometimes, right, as I know from my journey in waking up, so to speak, like becoming awake, is part of consciousness, becoming enlightened, stepping into your higher self, acknowledging your higher self, making your higher self, knowing that your higher self is always with you and you're always with your higher self, and acknowledging the God within others, being aware, God presence within you. Like, I see you, you know, I see the people that I work with at the school. I see them, you know, and it's not looking at the shirt that they're wearing. It's being consciously aware of what's behind their eyes into their heart.
Right.
So it's just like a huge, it's a huge.
It's a huge thing. Well, I think, and I think you hit it on the head. And what's so great about that question is, I do get little pieces of that answer from all of the guests because everybody's giving me their perception of it. And you know, you even in what you said, there's a bigger collective consciousness, right, that we're all a part of, and at any given moment, and being aware of that collective consciousness and other people, that's I love it. It's a great answer. It's what I was thinking about when you were expressing that was, there were times I can remember I was doing this for a while. I don't know what started me on it, but every time I would see an airplane in the sky, I've been on an airplane, right? So I know what that experience is like. I would stare at the airplane and I would bring myself back to that experience, and I'd be like, there are people on that plane right now having this experience. They're sitting on a plane, they're flying through the air, you know, oblivious to the people on the ground. And I would almost try to connect to the consciousness of what was going on in the plane, right? Like, it was just a weird thing that I did, but it was I think, you know, again, part of that growth, part of starting to understand my own awareness, you know, of being aware and in the moment, you know, that kind of thing. So awesome. That's a great answer. See, that it sounds so scary when the question is posed to you, but it just comes right out when you know it and you feel it.
True. That's always very true. I mean, but Michael, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Right? And so, you know, speaking about like consciousness, and when you develop, because I just love the whole title, live stream of consciousness. How did you come up with it? What was the inspiration behind that? I'm so curious because I never got to talk to you, so won't digress
it's
anymore.
a great question, and I really appreciate it. There's a couple of things. I mean, the show developed out of, I was doing a lot of, I'm like more of a technical guy, video guy, you know, photography guy, and I was doing a lot of live broadcasts for other people. And I was doing my friend Jesse Blaze was working at oh my god, Tranquility Within here in Patchogue, just like as a day job. But through that, he decided, hey, I'm going to do a class here, and he developed a class called the 13 Universal Laws by Jesse Blaze. So it was like his own interpretation of some Kabbalah and some Hermetic laws and some different things that he was studying. Law of one, and some real basic stuff, all the way through The Secret, the Law of Attraction. And I was broadcasting that class for him. It was during COVID, so it was like he was doing the class at the location, but they were only allowing a couple of people there. And when he was done, he's like, I want to continue this. This is great. This conversation, this platform is really great. And it was, what lit up for me was, at that time, the platform, the internet in general, was so divisive. You know what I mean? You'd go on Facebook and you would say something, and 20 people would jump down your throat this way, 20 people would jump down your throat that way. And it was using the platform to connect people rather than to divide people. So I was all in. I never expected to be on this side of the camera, but I am just loving it. I'm loving the interactions and the connections that we make with people and the conversations that we have. So originally we called it Love as Law, because it was just all about love and the vibration of love. We toyed with a lot of names, and then I'm huge on play on words. So I mean, my website is photosynthesis, right? So it's a play on my last name. So I'm huge on play on words, and live stream of consciousness just kind of came to me. It was just like, stream of consciousness was talking and just kind of going back and forth, having a conversation about whatever's coming to your mind. And it was a live stream. So it just kind of, it just made sense when it came out. You know what I mean? I think for me, that's how I channel. I do it creatively. So, I come up with creative play on words, or my photography or whatever it is. For me, that's how I channel. I don't specifically connect to a conscious or an ascended master or something like that, for instance, and bring messages forth. I create, and those are my messages. This is my message, the live stream of consciousness. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So that was a good question. Thank you. Angela says it was a pure genius between you and Jesse. Yeah, Jesse was very inspirational and in this whole thing. And he's actually in town. He was supposed to come visit the show again, but I think he's busy with his kids. But anyway, thank you for asking that and giving me that moment to talk about that. But there is another question I want to ask you. And again, it may sound difficult, but it's probably not. And I think for you, it's almost like a two-parter, because the question is usually, when was that moment? And some people have a specific moment. Some people kind of always, since they were kids, had this knowing. But the moment that you knew or said, hey, things are not what they seem. Things are not what I've been told. There's more to this three-dimensional existence than, what most people think and talk about. Was there a moment, or is it something you always knew? Or
well, two things. Well, one, when I was younger, the vocabulary we didn't talk about, three-dimensional streams, there was none of that when I was younger. But when I was younger, I could see like what I thought was angels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or fairies. So my mom would be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, there's an angel over there. There's this over there. And so she took me to a doctor, actually. And they were like, you're malnourished. And they gave me a protein drink, and then it went away, whatever. And
you're hallucinating, right?
Yeah, it was like, you're malnourished. You're not eating right. And so then when I turned 16, things in my life started to change pretty rapidly. And so I started to seek. I was looking for answers. So my mother was diagnosed with cancer, then later passed right after my sweet 16, just to give a little backstory, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was seeking because I wanted stability. I wanted more. I knew that there was more. I understood that there was more. So I ventured off to a crystal store that happened to be in Roslyn at the time, called Dreams East. And I had my very first crystal. And there's a woman, Connie, she was one of my first mentors. And she looked at me and she was like, with this beautiful blonde hair, short hair, older lady. And she was like,
yeah.
I feel that. Like, and right then I knew that there was something more. And then that led me to connect to crystals. Like, I love crystals. That led me to connect more to nature, feeling the heartbeat of a tree, hugging a tree and feeling the tree. And it just rolled. It just kind of came. Every step that I took, there was a deeper connection, knowing that there was more. Part of my world, I'm Roman Catholic by birth, then born again Christian.
Wow.
And metaphysical, right? So I stepped into that whole metaphysical avenue. And, I remember people saying, you're pretty much going to go on to hell in a handbasket, this new age stuff. Right. What are you doing? And I was like, this is my heart. I know that there's more. And I followed it. And when you know that there is a love beyond a love, and I think in that moment, like when my mom had passed and I held her and she passed in my arms, there was something where I felt her spirit. I actually could feel her. Right. And that's what really kind of started that journey of knowing that there was more out there.
Right.
Of then looking around and being like, wow, the blood that's in my mom, my parents is in me. Right. Wait a minute. Fragments of them are within me. Right. And then it expanded, like my friends, people that come into my life that I exchange love with, they become a part of me.
You start to realize that. Yeah.
We just give and take information. We love, we embrace. And, and that's with all of my friends, whether it's for 1 moment, 2 hours, 5 hours, there's that embrace that there's something so much more. And so that truth became so apparent. There was no denying that. Right. And here we are, and
and it's so great when I think you navigate through life until you have those understandings of how to navigate. You navigate through life, and there are people who suck your energy out, and there's all these different kinds of relationships. But when you're around these like-minded people, it really raises the vibration, and you really feel it. And I just want to acknowledge we've got Mindy here. Love you, Carla. We've got Sunshine here. Love you, Sunshine. We've got Carrie Ann, who's saying that's so Italian. She's seeing things feed her. She must be famished.
I did eat before, 5 minutes before. But one of the things, too, right, is we're always growing and evolving. Always. Perception changes, things change, you start to break down, right? So I teach a class. It's I talk about the Violet Flame. I am like all about the Violet Flame, right? And I wish like I understood it more when I was younger and I knew about it, because boy, like had I known what I know now, forget it. It's first of all, it's the greatest gift, right, given to us. Yeah. But we're all, we're taught things, we're programmed to believe certain things. We pick up certain ideals. Is there anything wrong with those things? No. At that time, we were taught it. It was right in those moments. Right. As I grew on my spiritual path, I evolved more and more. I began to realize like those things are okay. Right. That person that sucks the life out of me, because listen, we've all had them. When I shifted my perspective with the person that sucked the life out of me, that's an energy drain. Yeah. And I use my tools of transmutation to transmute that energy. There's magic that occurs. They're no longer sucking the life out of you. Right. They're elevating into your frequency. Right. When you, as healers, as leaders, as who we are, when we are in love with our passion, with who we are as a being, right? Yeah. And we meet people that do suck. First of all, they're our biggest teachers. So let's just go there. Right. Hello, you're gonna suck my energy. What are you going to teach me? Part of being aware, part of being conscious, right? Right. Understand that.
It's a great way to look at it. It's awesome.
They're teaching us something, right? So have I had people that I've had to cut out of my life? Absolutely, because they just weren't getting the picture. So you need time. They need time to grow on their own. I need time to grow, and then eventually you come back to them. Or maybe you'll see them in the distance, or they'll see you. But everyone comes into our life. They bless us in some way.
Right. Absolutely.
Even those light suckers, right?
Yeah.
They bless us in some way, and so using the violet flame, right? I'm able to transmute negative energy and elevate it into a higher vibrational frequency.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm able to transmute we have an energy field that extends around us 3 feet, 5 feet, depending on how big and bubbly we are.
Right. Scientifically proven. Yep.
A little bit more contained, right?
Yep.
And using the violet flame and surrounding yourself with the violet flame and Christ light, you're really able, right, to transmute the energy that's coming to you, to keep your energy clear and pure, so you can hold greater amounts of universal life force energy, Christ light, God light, whatever label that you want to put onto it, right? Doesn't matter what the label is. So, I mean, and I've been working with St Germaine. I met probably St Germaine in 2009, and I was like, one day I'm going to teach this work. One day, right? And what happens? And I get a phone call from a friend of mine, my uncle's friend, Steve. He's like, listen, you need to get out there with your crystals. The world needs you. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm shy. Well, you can't tell, but technically I have shy characteristics. Okay. So, so I'm like shy, and I'm like, well, I don't know. That was on a Thursday night. 24 hours later, to the exact hour, Ellen Pellegrino, calls me up, and she's like, that impromptu interview that we did at my my catering hall? I want to share that. It needs to be out there. The world needs you. And I'm like, oh no, this is twice. And I had only met Ellen maybe in my journey through life at least 3 or 4 times.
Right.
So this was interesting, right? I'm like, wow, here's a guy I just met the night before who he doesn't even know me. Now we're on the phone. I'm like, he's what? Right. So you listen, right? You have to listen sometimes. So I'm listening, and I'm like, well, what if it's more than that? What if it's bigger than that? Right. So Ellen is a yes person. I love her because she's yes. She shows up. If you want lessons on how to show up to life, you go to Ellen, because she shows up. She said yes. She doesn't think twice. It's yes, I'm in. And she goes in full out, right? So she's like, what do you have in mind? I'm like, 22 days of transformation. We bring on 22 different healers that we know in our community every day for 22 days. She was like, yes, come to my house tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Wow. So you were the one who brought that to Ellen?
Yes. So
I remember that.
That's how that came apart. She was like, hey, you need to get out there. And I was like, why don't we do this? And she was like, yes. Right. And so that yes energy with her, she's unequivocal. When she inspiration Absolutely. Is a yes, and she marches. So there was no backing out, even though I was fearful. I was like, well, what if, Yeah,
what did I do here?
Yeah. And so, then that's what led me to meeting a lot of different people through that. Right. So I met a lot of people. And then later on, I met someone I met Lynne. I met so many great people. And I met Lynne, then I was at my girlfriend Kelly's house, then I met Alicia, and then web design came about, websites launched, and St. Germaine's like, now it's time, bring my work forward. Right. And I'm like, what? And I held my first class, and that's the class that Sunshine was in, where it was 25, it was free, and there was 25 guests, and it was an 8-week Violet Flame journey. Okay. And bringing forth the Violet Flame and channeling and igniting the Violet Flame within. And he said, continue to bring my work forth. And I was like, okay. And that's so awesome. Here, that's my backstory.
So here you are. Yeah. So that was going to be the second part of my question. Before I get to that, though, I want to just acknowledge the Wizard of Odd who came in. What's up, Brian? I don't know if you saw this, but I started another broadcast called The Fool's Journey, which is based on the tarot and based on angel cards. Brian is an amazing light painting photographer who I met through that interest. We were in a photography group, And then we started talking through that interest. And I said, oh, yeah, I've been thinking about making a tarot deck out of some of my artwork. And he said, oh, yeah, I've been studying under mystics and shaman for 40 years. And I made a tarot deck. And when he showed me his tarot deck and the depth that it went into understanding the real metaphysical science and magic behind it, I was like, oh, I can't do that yet. I got to respect that. You know what I mean? I can't just make pretty artwork and say it's a tarot deck.
Right.
And we became friends, and now we're doing this live show where he's taking me through. He had put out a deck of cards 10 years ago, so it was a 10th anniversary special edition. I have them over here, not to sticking a plug in the middle of your episode, but
I love it. I love it
yeah. So he's teaching me. Last week was the first episode, or was this week actually, and we blessed the deck with my own energy, and I pulled my first card, and it's really exciting. So welcome, Brian, Wizard of Oz. He's saying, "Hey guys, what's happening?" And then you also have Robert J. Scarpa, who I hear is also amazing, and that I should have on my show, saying, "Hey ladies." So he's here. Thank you for coming, Robert, and seeing what it's all about here at the live stream. So
hi, Rob. Yeah, Rob's amazing. Absolutely have him on your show. Amazing. But I love a couple of things. So as I progressed on my journey last year, St. Germaine was like, you need to create a book. So I need to create a book and bring it forward. And with all the students that I've taught, so over time I have to start positioning with all the students who've come through the class to share their experience, to put this in a big, huge book.
Awesome.
For the world. And then I've thought about wanting to create a deck. So I love the fact, so
there you go.
Going to show what we were just talking about. I love the fact that you introduced him and that whole avenue, because I'm like, wow, this is awesome. It's coming together. Okay.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is fabulous. So I love that. So thank you. Hi, Brian, Wizard of Oz. I look forward to meeting you one day. I glanced over his name, so Wizard of Odd.
Wizard of Oz, yeah.
Right. I thought you said Oz. But yeah, yeah. Okay, so
it's all about connecting. It's my whole life I've connected people, and it's more spiritual people now. But my whole life it's like you introduce someone to someone else, and then like 2 weeks later you're like, oh yeah, I'm working with that guy doing some stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I connected you guys, and it was it's just like part of the gift, which is always nice to see. So, but again, I want people to. You mentioned it a couple of times. The first part of the question was, do you realize that there was more to life? But now there is something very specific that you're attached to, which is St. Germaine and the Violet Flame. So what was that moment like? When did you obviously you're talking about he told you this and this and this over time, but when was the first time you connected with St. Germaine, and what exactly is the Violet Flame for people who might not know what it is?
So when I first connected with St. Germaine, I was younger, and I probably didn't even understand what it was, right? There was 20, 30 years ago, this was not very mainstream. There was little clusters of people, right? That knew about the wisdom or the knowledge. And, sometimes, most often from my experience, anyone that I met was always like, I need to take you here. I need to show you this. You need to come here. You need to go meet this person. So that's how my journey really started once I opened up, because it wasn't like you can go on Google and find it. There wasn't that there. And then when you did share with people what you were diving into, you were almost judged or like looked down upon, right? Or you were airy, whatever it was.
Right.
So with me holding my first crystal, that was really where it started. And then my journey progressed. And then in about 2000, let me see, September 9th of 09 or September 8th of 08? Well, one of those years, 88, or it could be 99. I don't remember now, but I went to Hawaii. I was in Kauai. And that propelled everything. That just took me to a whole nother level.
Tell me, that's interesting that you say that, and I was going to ask you about that. You just reminded me to put this up. Hold on a second. We've got emeraldlotuscrystalhealing.com, which is your website where anything that we're talking about tonight, if it resonates with you guys, that's where you can find out more about it. But I noticed on your website a big aloha. And I, for me, I visited Hawaii in 2000, I believe. And it was amazingly spiritual to me, and in a weird way, because I'm not very religious. I kind of, I certainly understand religion and its different interpretations. But for me, excuse me, Hawaii represented the Garden of Eden, like the biblical Garden of Eden, just because of what was happening there. And for people who don't know, Hawaii is still volcanically active. So, we took a helicopter ride and we saw the volcanic flow into the water, and they said, hey, it's creating 18 square miles of land or whatever it might be. I don't remember the numbers every year. And we also did a hike in the crater, and it was like being on the moon. It was like so what's the word I'm looking for? Just like there was no life. It was just all rock, and it was like desolate, right? It seemed so desolate. It was beautiful. But the truth of the matter is that rock that seemed so desolate was so rich in minerals that right around that area, that rock, like within a year, it turns into lush forest and grows life. So again, there was this very literal Garden of Eden happening in front of my eyes, and I was like really connected to that and connected to Hawaii. So what happened to you in Hawaii? You're saying something happened.
So when I went to, it's really, there's like a large backstory to it, because my career path has been, I was a hairdresser. So I'm in people, I'm in their energy field by 3 feet. So the gift of my hands and healing and energy work really came because of the way I was connected to people, how I had to look inside of someone's heart and soul and capture the look that they wanted to bring out,
Right.
But taking it more, I didn't want to be just a typical hairdresser. I wanted to offer an opportunity for healing. So hairdressing really is what carried me through my journey, right?
Right.
So fast forward, I have a client. She moves to another state. I always said I was going to do her hair. She says, I meet her friends at, she says, okay, but she moves. So I don't see her. I lose touch, right? That's what happens in life.
Right.
And I now meet people that are her friends at an outside party, like a block party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, how's Melissa? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, she's getting married. I'm like, tell her I'm going to come do her hair for a wedding. Like I'm coming, like I'm there. No question. Right. Yes, just tell her. And so that weekend that happened, I got the phone call like that Monday. The party was on a Saturday. I got the phone call that Monday. And she's like, you really what? I was like, absolutely. I'm coming. Like where? So she's like, Kauai. I'm like, okay, sounds good to me. And then just tell me when.
That's awesome.
So I go, and she's also into energy work and very spiritual, very into energy work, very metaphysical. So she says, she's like, I got to tell you, she's like, and I'm very into crystals. She's like, I got to tell you, she's like, when you come, be careful what you think. Be careful, because things manifest here. If the island likes you and you have aloha, everything will open up for you. The island doesn't like you, it will shut down. Nothing's going to work out. So I'm like, really?
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, all right. So I go, and the first night I'm there, someone calls and says, oh, there's a crystal event. Does your girlfriend want to come? Okay. Then the next day we go to the back of Kauai. I think it's like this sacred area. It's like dirt road bouncing up and down. I'm not a water person, but I go into the water anyway.
Yeah.
I go into the water, and as I'm walking to my friends, I'm thinking to myself 2 things as I'm speaking it. Are there any creepy crawlers in these waters I should know about? I'm thinking it and saying it. I don't even think I got the words out of my mouth. All of a sudden, I'm like, what is going on? Beads of sweat break off my face. I felt like I was being electrocuted in the water.
What happened?
I look down and there's these long strings. They're like black and clear. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a net. I'm like, what? I'm screaming bloody murder. I'm like, get me out of here. And I start running and I'm just wiping everything off. I have a moldavite ring on with a quartz in it. And I have an amethyst in my bra, right? So I'm like, okay. So I continue on and I run out and I pull this thing off my leg and it's a man of war. Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, everyone comes running out of the water and I'm like, someone going to do something about this? Like, because out here they tell you, if you pee on somebody, you'll take this thing away. So I'm like, they're like, no. They're like, you know what? It's poisonous. It's designed to kill you. If you die, you die. Like, there's nothing we can do. By the time you get to the nearest hospital, it's going to be 2 hours, right? So I'm like, all right. I go into my bag because I don't leave without my crystals. I go into my bag. I'm like, take my amethyst, put it down in the water. I was into Reiki. I was a Reiki master at that time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, take my crystals, let's cleanse it in the water. I'm like, okay. So they take my crystals and I realized that the amethyst, my ring, my moldavite and quartz ring, nothing happened to my hands.
Oh, wow.
So they come back and I put the amethyst on me and my ring and I just start sending energy and it went away. But now here's the welts, the lines. It looked like I was whipped. The whip marks had to be at least 2 finger depth.
Right.
And it looked like I was like, oh my God. But I had been in a car accident years before and I lost the feeling from the top left side of my leg, my knee, to my hip.
Okay.
Car accident years prior. And within 24 hours of that sting happening, I got the feeling back in my leg.
Wow.
So there was so much more that happened. The welts went away.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
The power of manifestation. Think it, and it happened that quick. There was no time delay. Yes.
Go ahead. No, I didn't want. Go ahead. Finish.
Yeah. The Hawaiian Islands are they're magical.
Yeah.
Like Kauai is the Emerald Island. So, and the emerald lotus, the light comes. The lotus flower comes up, right, to the sun, to light.
Yeah.
Part of my mission is to bring that energy from Hawaii to here and to anchor that. So that's why the emerald lotus. It's a little bit deeper than that.
Awesome. Oh, I love it.
The emerald lotus, and then I love crystals and stuff like that. So, but then that happens. Then I'm on Kauai, and I'm like, I need a place to stay. I need a car. I'm going to extend my trip. Everything opened up. Woman's like, you want to stay here? Sure. Give me the money when you get home. Send me the check for $1,000 when you get home. Okay. Need a car? Oh, yes, I know so-and-so who's going to let you have their car for 2 weeks.
So awesome.
So everything just opened up and I just kept meeting people. I met an incredible lady. She owns Stuff and Touch Wellness in Kauai. She does a lot of retreats. She's connected to Lemurian energy. Like that's a whole nother topic, Lemuria.
Yeah.
I'm so connected to that.
That's awesome.
And St. Germaine. So that propelled my relationship with St. Germaine. Then that led me to go back. I lived in Hawaii. I was called to go back. I lived in Hawaii. Then I went to Mount Shasta. And that opened my connection with St. Germaine even more. And
so you're connected with the earth's like some sacred spots. So you lived in Hawaii for a little bit.
Yes.
That's awesome. I just want to, before we continue, I want to acknowledge my friend Michael Wellhouse is here saying she's awesome. And I'm super excited. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for coming and checking it out. I invited Michael on the show. Michael is a theologist. So Michael is very much into his religious beliefs. And I invited something told me to invite him on the show and do a show to specifically show the correlation between spirituality and religion. And it's interesting that he's here because you're connected to that. That is, I think, some of the connection to spirituality is people who channel the ascended masters. I mean, those are religious figures. I mean, right? Isn't St. Germaine a religious figure, and Archangel Michael and some of these spirits who people connect to on a metaphysical level is also also based in religion. Michael says you have a beautiful spirit. She certainly does.
Yeah.
She certainly does. That's the great thing about the live stream of consciousness. I think it's like that's what gets you in, is the ticket. Is like, if you have a beautiful spirit, you're welcome here, and you're drawn here, it seems. So, and Mike is saying yes, love is the key. Mike, I cannot wait to have you on the show and bring that conversation to the world. It's going to be awesome. So anyway, so
coming on, or he's already been on, or he's coming
on?
No,
he's coming up. I've been really, like, the show, like you said, everything comes together when it's supposed to, you know. And I've been contacted by some authors, and then people have been popping into my head like, hey, this person would make a great guest, and you should have this person on your show. And Michael was one of them. So I don't know the date. Hold on, maybe I have it here. Michael is September 22nd. He's going to be on the show. So, yeah, I'm already booked. I got the show lined up through October. So
beautiful.
Super excited. Yeah. Super excited. So where were we at? You were talking about Hawaii. I saw that Brian, the Wizard of Oz, asked, what is your favorite sacred spot in Hawaii?
Anahola.
Okay. Not familiar with that. Tell me what's
Anahola is the Hawaiian homelands.
Okay.
So it's where the Hawaiians live. For me, it's where my ohana is, my family is. Mm-hmm. So this island just means so much to me. Mm-hmm. So when I lived on the island, you know, you go there, right? You don't know anybody. And I was fortunate that Melissa took me around, and I met people. And I met this man, beautiful man, Joe, and his, at the time, wife, Roxy. And they opened up their home to me right away. And they lived in the Hawaiian homelands. And this is where all the Hawaiians live, right? So when, you know, when it got developed and people came in, you know, it's kind of like here, right? We have the reservation.
Right.
It's there.
So isn't as a like a mainlander, aren't you considered what a haole is?
Haole, yes. Very much considered a haole.
How'd you get past that?
Huh?
How'd you get past that?
Magic. Really, it was magic. So I met them, and they took me to see this show, and then they invited me to stay in their house, and they opened up their home to me, like the aloha, right? Yeah. And they taught me about the Ho'oponopono prayer, the meanings, like that magic, right? Mm-hmm. So. And all the neighbors, like I had, like when they met me and then I was leaving, they had a feast. Like people came and they brought their food, and like it was amazing. The islands opened up their heart to me in every way. The whole entire island to me really is sacred. Wow. But Anahola is sacred. My family there and the people, they're so sacred. So but it's really the whole island, but it's my Joe, it's Roxy, it's my family, that Jeannie, everyone that opened up their homes, because, you know, Kauai, you know, there's a little bit of that like division, right? Because, you know, you're an outsider. They've experienced what has been experienced in other places, right? And but yet there's that hurt. And I really believe that when I went and they all opened up their homes to me, Joe and the family. And I brought my friends in to Anahola, and they came and they celebrated. Mm-hmm. Spirit was giving me the opportunity to be a bridge.
That's awesome.
And we're all bridges, you know, to whatever degree that we are going to bridge.
Right.
You know, the light, we're going to bridge peace. We're going to bridge harmony. We are going to bridge.
Right.
Right. So, but the thing is, right, all is sacred. All is sacred. Mm-hmm. Right. Everywhere, like Long Island is sacred. Okay. There's not that lush story. There's things that we don't know, but all is sacred. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was really very profound when I was there, and I learned about the sacredness of the island. Mm-hmm. And it shifted my entire perspective to understand that all is sacred. All. So, yeah, the whole island means the world to me. But
I love the connection you're making with Michael right now. It's great. It just proves the whole idea that I invited him on the show. It's just
Right.
like it really does. And I gotta say, you made me very happy with what you're saying about Hawaii, because in my experience, when I went to Hawaii, I went in, like I said, 2000. Um, I was married at the time. I was with my ex-wife, but the experience was so spiritual. Um, to me. And I think what you said about the island opening up to you. So we did the drive to Hana, right? You drive around the coast of is that Maui? No, that's
I was only on Kauai. Kauai is the only island I've ever
oh,
been.
okay. So I think it might be on Maui, but it's just this drive. It's a famous drive that you go around the coast, and you stop and you go into the woods at certain points, and there's waterfalls, and it's a very very
Sounds like
natural.
Kauai, but okay.
It might have been.
It
It
could
might have
be.
been.
And is that like when you go to the end and there's the beach at the end?
Well,
You walk up like
Is Hana one of the towns? Hana, it's called the road.
Hanalei, past Hanalei?
Yeah, I guess it's the road to Hana is what I remember it being called. So
Okay.
I don't know, but
Right.
anyway, the point of the story is we had, there was like, you get a cassette tape at the time we had that would tell you, hey, stop here, and you could walk in. And we started walking into the woods, and we came across this guy on a bicycle, no shorts, no shirt, and he had a machete with him. And we were like, oh, maybe, we had heard, like, get out of there before nightfall. You know what I mean? Like, don't get caught and after nightfall, because you know, you're in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, so this guy comes over to us, and he introduces himself as Machete Marco. Um, and he's like, hey, I'm Machete Marco. And he tells us a story about how he was from the mainland. His wife passed away, and he just, like, decided to come there and grieve, and met some people, and he ended up, like, deciding to stay, and he was watching some people's land. That's what he told us he was doing. But he basically rode his bicycle through the woods, and met people like us to give us a little guidance for tips, like $20 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he took us to this waterfall. He had us washing our hair with the natural, the plants and everything. He was giving us the whole history, and it was like having a personal tour guide, to these waterfalls, and it was amazing. So my point is, sometimes it takes a while for me to get there, but my point is, the island opened up to me, and I feel, looking back, I feel like that's what was happening. There was a lot of experiences we had while we were there that were just, like, very spiritual and open like that. So
Magical.
yeah,
It just moves you into it. There's something. It's alive. First of all, the island is alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's really alive, conscious, breathing. Everything is. But I guess because, like, let's say here we're on Long Island, right? And everything has so much movement. So you're on sensory overload. There, it's not for Kauai. It's not like, speaking for Kauai, it's not like that. There's no sensory overload. So you can almost see the heartbeat of life moving throughout time and space on the island.
Absolutely.
And so
it's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, really, really amazing.
It's beautiful. So again, you're bringing some good people to the show. I appreciate all of you guys coming here. Laureen says, hey, Carla, just getting here now. You are radiant, especially when you say all is sacred. so which I think is really interesting, because as these kind of spiritual people and thinkers, we know how powerful words are, right? And vibration is. And for somebody else to just watch you say something and feel that off of it, off of what you're saying, and get that vibration, I think that's amazing.
Laureen is, like, so many people that are here are so amazing. Laureen wrote a book, and she's very spiritual. She wrote a beautiful book, honoring the moon. And I haven't gotten it yet, so please, I apologize, Laureen. Type it in the thing so we can, see it. And
she thinks you're dynamite, and Lillian is saying one with the earth.
Yes,
amazing. Yes, we are all one. Carrie's saying, I think you should find Machete Marco and have him on your show. That would be phenomenal.
Right?
And
That'd be so cool.
thank you for speaking that into the universe and making it a possible manifestation. I think that would be phenomenal. That's amazing. Jilly B is saying Earth is a being. So we are making a lot of connections right now. Everybody is feeling the love and the sentiments that we're all sharing here about being. So that's awesome.
I love that. I don't have it on full screen, and I'm looking at you. So when I'm talking, I'm engaging you, and I'm not really looking at the camera. But so I don't see all the comments.
The comments, right?
Everybody being here and expressing your love, right? And I think my biggest hope and my intention is that within me, a greater spark is ignited, but within each of us, an even larger spark is ignited, right? And I know that we, had very much intense, I'm talking more about the Violet Flame, and I'm sure we're going to get to that, right?
Yeah.
And stuff, but what we're doing and how we're doing it, it's beautiful, and I love it. So however Spirit always leads, right? When we just show up and we listen and and we let Spirit lead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Spirit leads. And so with all the good golden nuggets that we're sharing, and that, listen, even though we're on and you and I are talking, the energy that's behind us is vibrating. And so I really want to thank everybody for being a part and being here. Even though we don't see you all, right? But you're a part of it. So you're vibrating with us. So really, I feel it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, isn't it great? Isn't it great? And that's why when I start the show, I'm just like, you made it. I made it. We're here together. I get so excited because it really is that. It so much is that. And man, I can't tell you how excited I am that Michael is still hanging with us and saying he could listen to you all night. Because again, I think you are speaking the gospel. You know what I mean? Literally, your connection to spirituality has that vein, you know what I mean, that really connects it to the gospel of what was the real true message of religion. You know what I mean? Like, there was one day, it was interesting. I struggled for so long with just the word God. You know what I mean? Like in my brain, it was like so hard to process it. You know what I mean? And when I was able to finally process it, it was amazing. And then I remembered the saying that I had always heard growing up: Jesus is love, right? And I was always, again, I was just like, had this thing in my head about organized religion, and but all of a sudden, just the words Jesus is love made so much sense to me. It was like it lit up, it made one of those connections, my neurons connected, and all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, Jesus is love, duh. And it's amazing, it really is amazing when you make those connections to yourself. You know what I mean? And you were kind of saying it earlier that, God is in all of us, you know what I mean? And these things that, again, I think that was, for me personally, that was my struggle with organized religion. Was there's a part of organized religion that separates you from God, right? God, it puts God as a separate entity, and I think the message gets lost. I think that in religion there is the message that God is in you, right? Because God is a part of you and you are a part of God, right? In religion, so it is there. But I just again, that's for my conversation with Michael. We can talk.
I love, I love where we're going, and hey, this is your show, but the more the merrier. If you feel like clapping people on, whatever, right? The more the merrier. So, here's like what I, because I remember when I was growing up, right? I was taught to fear God, right? Fear.
Right.
So I was like, oh, and then, but in my heart, Jesus and God was love.
Right.
Like I always felt like I came, like, of course, the science, right? When I got a little older, I was like, I came from this, and I was with this, and then this happened, and here I am. I'm like, well, that seems like love, because my parents loved each other. How could God not be love, right?
Right.
And I'm going to say something that might freak some people out, so I'm going to apologize in advance. and this is in my learning process, right? So we all have light codes that we're lit with, right? We have the God codes, the light codes of God. And our bodies are amazing. They beat on their own. We don't think about the heart beating. I don't tell my organs how to, take away a dead cell and put a new cell. All this happens on its own. And even when I'm talking, my body knows to use my hands. I'm not thinking about how to use my hands when I'm talking. Right. They're just doing it, right? And and then we have love, right? And we know that we're created in love. And then we have I'm looking for the right word, because when I say what I'm going to say, it might stun some people back.
Okay.
And then we have the lesser, the shadows, the darkness, right? Well, I've been thinking about this a lot. And we all have codes. We have light codes and we have dark codes. Somewhere along the line, there was a genetic mutation that occurred, and we have both light codes and dark codes, right? Some of us move more to the light because this is what's innate with us, right? But listen, we could all go down a very dark rabbit hole.
Sure.
So there's not one of us that can't go down a dark rabbit hole. We all can.
Right.
But there are people that love the dark. There are people that love the light. But aren't they both? Somebody is loving something.
Right. They're both expressions of love.
They're both expressions of love, right?
That's such a great. I love it.
As I journeyed on my journey, and I'm growing, and I think it was after I had done that wild channeling, right? And and I don't even remember that channeling, but after
the one you're talking about, the one we spoke about with Hitler.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember it, but it occurred to me after hearing, because when I channel, I go so far out, and I haven't had ever the courage to re-listen to myself, right? I wouldn't even watch this video again, because just the fact to see me out there, I'm like, but I really got to overcome that. So, but when that happened and people were sharing with me what they experienced, I realized something also. As dark and as dingy that whole experience was, and the experiences that we all have, there was something that he was loving. What it was, we don't know, right? And there's something that moves people, that whatever it is, but it's not for me to judge. Right? Not for me to judge. Right. And I realize more and more in doing this work that if I look at something and I see that it's wrong, and I send it like, oh my God, can you imagine that happens? Follow me here. Yep. I can't believe that poor guy, poor this, poor that. I'm sending energy to it. Yep. So I'm amplifying that energetic frequency. Yep. Right? So if I'm looking at that person because I live in my light body, and I'm like, bippity, and I'm like, hey, whatever, boppity and boop, right? You know what I mean? And then I'm looking at something and I perceive it, because it's not relative to my light, but it's that of dark. And I'm judging it. I'm just sending it a vibration that's negative, right? Right.
You're sending it the vibration that you think is wrong about it.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And what am I doing? I'm creating separation within myself. I may be sending that more fuel and more energy, but I'm creating the separation within me. So as I journeyed on, I realized that you have to embrace both sides of us. Right. And, I taught my Violet Flame class this past week, and one of the things that had channeled through was, because they like to throw me under the bus sometimes when I channel, right? So meaning that point out things that I've done that right. So speaking of this whole thing, I channeled, and they were like, yeah, she saw a homeless person on the street, and she kept saying shame that I wanted to give money and I didn't have the money. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. I don't have the money. Shame. This is such a shame that this has happened to him. This is such a shame. This is such a shame. This is such a shame. Right. And I kept shaming. So I was sending the energy of shame.
Right.
I was sending him the energy of shame, the feeling of shame. Now, he could have very well chose that position. I don't know. But whatever story I created in my mind, I was sending him the energy of shame. So then as the time went on, by the time the couple of days later went on, and now they decide to call me out, I went to the beach and I felt bad. I was like, oh my God, I just shamed this person. I sent them all this energy of shame.
Right.
What am I? Awareness, consciousness. What do I have to be shameful of? So then it led me going into a whole thing where I was like, you know what? Thank you for being there. Thank you for teaching me the lesson that I sent to you, the energy of shame. Because I judged you.
Wow.
I love you. I'm sorry. And then I used the violet flame to transmute that energy. And it brought me right back immediately into elevating my energetic frequency. But I understood that once I began to send that energy, I began to clear a karmic contract, because when we cross people's path, believe it or not, you and I have had a karmic contract. In what lifetime? Unless I read your Akashic records, I'm not going to find that out. But we had some kind of lifetimes together. It's very possible that I had a lifetime with this man that I saw. And I'm sending him this energy, right, in my now present moment. And I'm also sending it to myself, because what I felt triggered, there was something within me. And once I transmuted it, I was able to thank him, but I cleared the energetics that happened. Whatever our karma contract was, I was able to clear it, because St Germaine is also part of the karmic board.
Right.
And he's been holding the dispensation for the violet flame for over 30 to 70,000 years to clear karma. We've had many lifetimes to use this gift given to us by the Holy Spirit, the ascended masters, the great central sun, whatever you want to say. We've had the opportunity to use it. Now it's a very pivotal moment, because Mother Earth is ascending, and we're also ascending, but our evolution and growth is simultaneously happening at a very rapid pace. The violet flame will collapse time around trauma very quickly. The violet flame collapses time around trauma, around drama, and it takes negative energy and it elevates it into a higher vibrational frequency. So when I experienced that with that guy, and I realized, because I'm aware, I'm awake, I'm seeing it, and I immediately was able to transmute it, and I immediately raised my elevational frequency back to where it needed to be.
Right.
You know, and use the violet flame, and then I call in more Christ light, white light, God light,
right.
You know, and then I call that in, and I'm able to hold more light, and I'm able to radiate more light, because let's be for real here. You're a healer. I'm a healer, but I'm not. We're not that. We think that we're healers. The person who heals themselves is the actual healer.
Right.
Right? The God in them that's moving through them is the healer.
Yeah.
It's in that moment of awareness and expansion that you begin to heal. But what I am is a facilitator of light.
Right.
We're a facilitator of light. Different in how we do it. But this is what we do. And the people that are, all of our friends, right, that are watching, they're facilitators of light, able to hold a certain amount of frequency to allow the energy, universal life force energy, to pass through to create healing, right? And so, but when you use the violet flame, like this is my favorite, right? So when you use the violet flame, it like we have junk. We have years of debris, of crap. Change
centuries.
Yeah, like years. And then in this lifetime, the amount of crap that we have, right? It's like, and so when you use the violet flame, right, it breaks all of that up. It like obliterates it, it disintegrates it, so it makes room for you to bring in more light.
Here we go. You ready? You ready for this? You ready for this? My playing on words. I'm giving you a new nickname.
Okay.
You were the violet flamethrower.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Yeah, totally. It's like a flamethrower. It like breaks up. So I just want to. You are amazing to talk to. This is. I'm feeling so much energy, and you're so wise, and everything you're saying. It's like one of the. I have so much to say. Like one of the big things about seeing other people and looking at other people is seeing your reflection. And that's been something that's been really evident to me in making connections with people. It's like, they're totally doing something different than me, but I can see my reflection, and it's not a literal thing. It's just the only way I can really describe that feeling of vibrating on this level of, hey, we're here at this amazing time in the history of the planet and the history of humanity, and we're here for a reason. And when we make these connections like this, it's just phenomenal. So Jilly B, this was a while ago, we were talking about something. She was feeling some incredible energy. We have Laureen saying, you're such a prime example of what it means to live our higher self in a physical experience. Such a clear channel, another example of Jesus's message for us to embody the Christ light within us. Again, that connection between spirituality and religion, absolutely. And it's funny because I had posted I like to create these memes every once in a while, and I posted one last week that said, if I conduit, you conduit, and meaning like we're all conduits, right? And when we started talking, you were using another word that was like very similar to conduit, just about how the effect that we all have on each other. And the more you're aware of it, consciousness, right? The more consciousness that you put into it, the happier you are and the happier everybody is around you. You know what I mean? So you were going you were going off. Sunshine said, speak your truth. I'm trying to remember exactly what you were talking about at that moment, because it was awesome. Michael Wellhouse, wow, deep. He's really loving it. It's all neutral was when you were talking about, embracing the light and the dark, and kind of, they're both expressions of love. I think that's a brilliant observation and a brilliant way to look at it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an expression of love. And just that whole thing, it's got to be so hard for people to even understand forgive Hitler in the same sentence. You know what I mean? But for people who do understand, it's like such a freeing concept, right? It's like, holy shit, if I can, I just said that, holy shit, if I can forgive Hitler, I'm truly unconditional, right? Unconditional love. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, right? Two things. Well, one, I want to just go with this too, right? So I remember when I was studying, I was becoming a born again Christian, right? And when I love Jesus, so just go here, right?
Yeah.
And I accepted Jesus into my life as my Lord and Savior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking in the light. I was like, oh man, right? It was just beautiful. And then as I was walking along my path, like, things changed for me. My eating habits changed. Things changed.
Mm-hmm.
What would Jesus do? WWJD. Like, I lived by that, right?
Right.
What would Jesus do? Jesus have perfume? No. I went to essential oils, frankincense and myrrh, right?
Right.
In my house, so I went with vinegar and water, right?
Right.
And I stopped using soaps, and I got rid of my TV. Hey, you didn't have a TV, because my questions were, how did they make these pyramids? Like, how did all of this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I'm like, oh, they didn't have a TV, so they had direct connect, like, so like I got rid of
direct connect.
But yeah, right? That's what I thought, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, right? So I remember, though, when I was in my walk, all this stuff was coming up, right? Because you have to learn forgiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all this stuff, this pain was coming up, this pain. And I couldn't, it was hard. It was hard. And it was painful. And it was like breaking through. And I will say this, and I'm happy for the hard road that it was, loss of friends, this, that, whatever the things were that occurred. I'm happy that they occurred, because it helped. It was part of the ingredients that brought me into who I am today, right?
Right.
What I will say is this. I wish when I was 16, 19, when I accepted Jesus into my life as my Lord and Savior, that I knew of the Violet Flame back then, like, and fully knew it the way I know it now. Because what I'm going to say this is, anybody who's walking the spiritual path to awakening, to use the Violet Flame. First, like, think of it like this. You have a closet, right? We all have that junk drawer or that closet that if you open it, like, things are going to blow out at you. And you're going to be like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, like, you want to bring more light in. You're studying Reiki. You want to bring more in. Well, you have shit. We all have stuff. We all have baggage. We all have stuff that needs to come up to the light to be cleansed, cleared, and healed, and released and turned into the light. So the violet flame we open up that closet, we can see the pain, we can transmute the energy, extract the knowledge and the meaning of what we need to learn out of it, and then move forward and release the story. And it doesn't have to stay with us, because it's also about forgiveness. Had I known back then, the journey would have been so much easier, because the violet flame will collapse time. So now I'm able to expand and open up to greater senses and amounts of love and emit more love. Like, I don't know, for me, like, and you can use it within any modality. It doesn't matter what you do, who you are. It's just to get to know it. And the more you use it, it amplifies. And to be able to hold more love and emit more love at a time when the world needs it, and we need it on a day-to-day basis. Because listen, when we see you see some of the stuff that goes on in the world,
right,
and you're like, oh my God. And that's another thing, like, when you get called out, and I realize, like, when I'm like, and I'm guilty of this, like, oh, shame on my, people that are leading this nation, how dare they, blah, 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 and they're crooks, and I'm sending them energy. I'm in judgment.
Yep.
So what am I doing? I'm fanning the flames of that perpetual thing, so it just keeps going.
Yep.
And when I engage, so, there was that thing, right? They used to say, like, when in the Bible, right? I believe it was a verse, and I don't know the verse, and I don't quote the Bible, so please forgive me. But they used to say, like, stay away from, gossiping, jibber jabber, right?
Right.
You're fueling an energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're fueling, right? And
absolutely.
Like, that makes sense. But even when we speak, every word that you and I speak here today, or we speak with our friends, right, is a vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
And words are alive. They're living. They have a frequency. Everything is alive. Everything on this planet is alive. And so when we speak, right, we are God in action, and Jesus and Mother Mary, and they're all a part of us, and we can connect to them so easily. It's a desire in your heart to want to connect, right? And so when we speak words, we're speaking. We have a choice of what gospel we're speaking. God's spell. What spell are we putting out there? Who are we being? We have a choice. Every action, because we have free will. Every action, everything that we choose, everything, we have free will. But how about this? Sometimes, listen, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I might curse the guy out for cutting me off before I'm like, hey, thank you for cutting me off, because you just saved me. You might have spared me. I might curse him out first.
Right.
Like, and I try not to make it a habit. But
right.
Oh my God. Okay, what I can teach you about that.
I gotta tell you, I love how passionate you are getting right now about everything that you're saying, because it's just like, it's your truth, you know what I mean? And it's my truth, and it's a good truth, and it is exciting and so much fun to get passionate about. It's like, it's so great. And you answered the question Lillian was asking earlier, how do we transmute that energy? And you're saying the violet flame. And it seems like the violet flame is also kind of like a good ego check. It like cleans out your ego. You know what I mean? Like, the ego is.
Listen, that's a whole nother topic for a conversation, but I want to answer Lillian's question. I want to address that. And this is this is what I've experienced in my walk, right? And we're all going to have our unique experiences. And they're good. They're good. No matter what that experience is, it's a good experience, right? It's how we choose to see it. It's how we choose to experience.
Exactly. Right.
So let's say this. Well, let's go with the ego thing first. And this is because when I channeled in one of my classes, I channeled the Ascended Masters, and they gave it a very specific name of energy God ordained.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And I can't believe I'm even going here, but let's put it like this. When you condemn your ego, or you're like, my ego is bad and it is no good, you are creating further separation within yourself. Your ego has been with you throughout time and space. It's held the records and memories, just as we hold records and memories in our bodies. It's held records. So, when we come in, right, like Mother Mary had the angel that came in with her, that kept her sight on her vision, right? That guided her, that would appear. Well, we come in years and years and thousands of years later, and we have an angel that comes in with us, but we don't see it. We're disconnected. Whatever happened when we came in. So it takes on a different identity. We give it the name of ego. Right. But what if we just put this out there, what if we friend our ego? What if we love our ego? What if we invite our ego on the journey with us to ascension, to awaken, to awareness, to enlightenment? Right. It's not a fight. Why does it have to be the ego is bad? Right. The ego is only doing what it knows, like our parents maybe only taught us and treated us with what they know.
Wow. Oh my, you're blowing my mind, Carla. You're like, your words are so amazingly wise.
And listen, and I'm very thankful because all these things that have come through is because of my journey, and it's because I said yes to St Germaine and the Ascended Masters. Absolutely. And but here's the thing, right? We all have access. We can all connect. There is not one person in this planet that is not worthy to connect or can't connect.
That's right.
And so how do you transmute how do you use the energy, right, to violet flame? So the violet flame, right? So let's go with this. First, anything that precedes your I am is God within you is. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you're like, I'm tired, you're going to always be tired. You're going to attract tired because, listen, remember this, right? We're energetic beings. The same thing that's in this crystal, right? My crystal's back, right? Silica, whatever, iron, whatever is in here, that is within us. Minerals. Right. We have minerals that are in us that help our bodies to function, and electric charges and the water, brings all this stuff into fluid motion, right?
Right.
So, So then when we want to, and now we have our minds and our words have power and we have a vibrational frequency. Each one of us is unique. We might look like somebody, we might remind somebody of somebody, but our vibrational frequency, our vibrational blueprint is unique unto itself.
Right.
So when you want to transmute energy, the first thing is that I'm going to say is you call on St. Germaine and the violet flame and you give thanks. You always want to start with giving thanks. And I'm just really cutting this down to a very short synopsis, right?
Okay.
So, but then what he taught, what he directed me to say was this: I am the violet flame. I am the love God is. And then, like, if I need more clarity in the day, I need more peace, I have a situation, it is, I am the violet flame. I am the love God is. As you say it, it will build up upon itself. And you will feel the energy and it will expand, right? So that's one, right? Short synopsis. We're going fast here. So then the next thing is, like, now let's say, right, you always have to guard your gates. Now you have many gates, right? So your gates are your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your hands, your feet. These are your gates. So you can feel energy with your hands, right? And you can send energy. Universal life force energy comes through and you're sending it and you're doing laying on of hands. The Holy Spirit's coming through you and you're doing laying on of hands. You're being the vessel for the light, right?
Right.
So when you say, I am the violet flame, I am the love God is, you're saying that you are. So here's two things. When you're transmuting, you begin to ignite the violet flame within you. So you're transmuting the junk, the clutter, the debris, right? Then you say, I am the love God is. It is very different than saying, it is very different than saying, somebody had shared in my first class, it's brilliant. They're brilliant. Pure. I am the purity God desires. And I was like, oh, it's out there. I'll just teach that, like, whatever. And he's like, no, it is, I am the violet flame. I am the love God is. So I'm like, all right, you got to sit with it, right? Because I'm learning and I'm going to teach the way he's teaching me to teach. So I'm like, okay. So then all of a sudden I realized something. When you say, purity God desires, it's almost like saying you're always a sinner. Always the sinner. Right? You always got to work to be cleaner and to be purer. You're never going to actually be that. You're working towards it. You're striving towards it. Well, there's a difference. So you can say, or anyone that's on it, say, I am the violet flame. I am the love God is. And allow yourselves to feel it in your body. Then say, I am the violet flame. I am the purity God desires. You have to strive to become the purity God desires. You then said that you are the purity God desires. So you have to work to become pure. And you're going to find every single reason in your mind, in whatever, that you're never going to be pure or good enough.
Right.
When you say I am, you're decreeing that your I am presence, the God within you is love. You are going to walk that action.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a question. And so all the little things that kind of keep you, that says that you can't or you're not worthy is going to fall away.
Right.
And when things come up, and let's say a situation comes up, like I'll give you one. I use my boyfriend as an example, right? I might as well use my own self. So we've had, listen, relationships takes work, and they're not easy. They're not. They can be painful. Love can, right? But love is the fabric of life. Love is painful because someone told us it was painful. Right. So sometimes, but it's hard. It's, two people coming together. They have different upbringings, different, whatever it is, right? So, we all have our own addictions. We have whatever we have and a way of being. So we've had struggles. We've had challenges. So the more, at first I was like, I can't violet flame him because, he doesn't believe in the stuff that I believe in. I'm like, I can't do that. And then I was like, that's hocus pocus. Why am I telling myself that? Like, of course I can violet flame him. So I started violet flaming. And how I said it was, his name is Mike. Mike is the violet flame. He is the love God is. Mike is the violet flame. He is the peace God is. So now what's happening here? I am saying he is the violet flame. So I'm transmuting whatever I'm seeing in him that I'm deeming is not right.
Right.
I'm sending the violet flame to shift my eyes, to shift how I'm viewing it, and to transmute any negative energy between us. Okay? Because we have cords that go between people, right? But that's a whole other topic for a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
So I am saying Mike is the love God is. I am now invoking his God presence. I am acknowledging the God presence that he is. Well, guess what? Months later, years later, he is taking a different stance.
Right.
Our relationship is changing dramatically because it took time. Because of course, whenever you learn something new, you do something different. Breaking from an old habit and you're going into something new. So then something comes up, it triggers you. You remember the old remembrance, the feeling, the patterns that get stuck in the body. You got to transmute, right? So, but over time, that transmutation, what his past was doesn't matter to me anymore. It's not.
Right.
I can talk about it, but that's it. It's done, gone.
And not the present moment. Yeah.
Right. And now I'm like, he is the violet flame. He is the love God is, and he's stepping into his own God nature.
That's awesome.
So whenever we give ourselves permission to connect to the divine that lives within us, the God that's in us, around us, through other people, we give other people permission to do the same in kin, to acknowledge their own light.
Yeah.
And so, I have been having the craving to go back to a church, to see what that's going to be all about, because I'm in a different perspective.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I love it. And actually,
that energy.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, I've also had the same thought, like, churches, like whatever, right, that I had going on in my own head. And I get to go back in to the church, and I'm also reverend, but I get to go back into the church and heal that energy. So that's my next level of transmutation. Because, we've all, listen, I was a kid when I had those opinions, whatever. And I was younger, maybe like even 4 years ago, I had those opinions. But now I need to go back and heal it. And before we spoke, right? Before we got on live with everybody, we spoke, and I was sharing, I wasn't going to share this, but I was sharing how I worked in a school. And I happen to work with in the special needs, the only special needs on Long Island, and special act school. And, I've been there for 5 years, moving into my 6th year. But 1 year I found myself frustrated, right? And everything is energy, and people mirror each other. So what had happened was I found myself getting frustrated, And I was like, oh my God, this place. I really want to do my spiritual work all day, every day. Like, I just want to read Akashic Record, teach my classes all day, every day. Like, this is what I want to do. And I was like, I was angry because it wasn't happening the way I wanted it to happen, right?
Right.
I wanted to be out of the workforce. And I was like, come on, I just want to do this all day. And I was getting angry. So it showed. Now I was going to work and I'm driving to work and I'm like, oh, this place, right?
Yep.
And it got mirrored back to me with the children. The children responded to my energy, chasing me. Like the first 3 years I never got chased. All of a sudden kids are chasing, but it was me. And me.
Yeah.
You know, becoming aware, reflecting. What am I doing?
Yep.
Right. And so I was like, I can't just quit this job. I have to heal this energy before I even ever think about leaving.
Right.
I have to heal what I placed there, taking responsibility for what I placed there, right? By my thoughts, just projecting. So we can send the violet flame into the future. We can send it back into the past, right? And we can send the light behind it, right? So I'm like, all right. So now I go back, which is this past school year, and it was the most successful school year. It was the most beautiful school year. You know, I ended up doing 222. I did a meditation, and it was just by donation, right? I didn't want to put a label on it. Whoever felt called, come, right? So that's what we did. And St Germaine said, donate 50%. I'm like, okay. And so I donated. And when I went to school, all of a sudden kids are like coming up to me. Oh, I heard that you know about crystals. I heard that you meditate. I heard this, I heard that. And I healed. I did something, followed the promptings, listened. And now I was able to open up a doorway to honor who I am and allow the kids to come to me and speak to me about things that they wanted to grow with, right? So I didn't have to leave my place to do something else. Showing up, like we said, show up different. Don't worry about how the people around you are showing up. You mind your business and show up, right?
Totally.
And give yourself permission, and then everything unfolds. Right? It's crazy, magical.
Yeah.
I can talk forever, and you're probably
Carla,
like,
you are so amazing, and we're gonna definitely have to have you back. I think we talked about 3 or 4 like other conversations. Like, oh, that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
We do have to wrap it up, but so many people. I literally can feel your energy affecting all of the people who are watching, and myself as well, because you said a few things tonight that are just like, you know, things that I know that I'm like kind of not paying attention to, that maybe I need to be like, hey, you know, you got to take accountability for this energy that you're putting out. You know what I mean? And I'm usually very aware of it, but I'm also human, like you said. And there are times where I'm like, I forget. And you reminded me, you know, Michael says, wow, so often we create our own drama. So true. Carla is awesome. I think you gained a new fan. I'm super excited about that.
Thank you.
And Julie B, you gained a few new fans, it looks like, tonight. Julie B loves you.
Thank you.
You got a great endorsement here. Where am I looking for it?
If you have time, we can do that. If not, we'll do something another time. But you know, I just can't stress enough, like, Michael, what you're doing is amazing. You know, I love it.
I definitely want to meet in person and like get together. I mean, I know we've met in person, but I want to get together. I would definitely love to talk about reading the my Akashic records and maybe, you know, figuring out what that connection is that you and I have, and how we can both make the best of it. You know what I mean? Because I think there is definitely power in that, like something that I can help you with, making some content or something to get out there, and you know, just some sort of
let's see what manifests for it, you know. Yes. Absolutely. Laureen, thank you. Laureen also took the Violet Flame class, and you got to use it every day, you know, like it's an 8-week program. Like I go through an 8-week program, we recap, I do live makeups. Because when it's a live makeup, if someone misses one class and I do a live makeup, there's a reason that happens. So, but you know, it becomes alive. And when I tell you to use the violet flame, and then to bring in more Christ light, bring in, you know, Master Hilarian's light, or, you know, Mother Mary's light, of that rose energy, and to be able to hold it and emit it more. It's so powerful. Like, oh man, like really amazing stuff. Amazing.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely have you back. You and I will definitely talk. Hang on after we run the the outro, and we'll talk about. Yeah. Thank you so much. This was amazing. Lillian's asking, when is your next class?
So next in September, because 2 of my classes I have running now, they got postponed. I added on to the back because I like to be very, like, when the container that's created where we become like a family, right? So one time somebody couldn't attend the class, we added on to the back. Then another time I have somebody who's in one of my other classes, and she is a nurse and she took on another job. So we changed the time down and we added on to the back. So, I stay pretty flexible. So the class is going to answer your question specifically, is probably going to release at the end of September. So I'm going to roll 3 separate classes out, Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday morning. I'm going to roll 3 separate journeys out. So yes, but I love everybody, everyone. Thank you for being here, and when I say thank you, I'm thanking you, but I'm thanking everybody else, and I'm thanking myself, right? Because we all showed up. Whatever way we were called to show up, we all showed up, and I got energized. I received healing from this. I received a solidification, right, of who I am and the mission and the connection to spirit. Like, so thank you.
Yeah,
I was nervous. I was like, should I cancel? I don't know. If I'm like, oh, what am I going to bring?
No, you know what? And you showed up. Love is Michael saying, I don't know why I'm trying to click. This is not coming up. Love is the key. You both manifested good stuff. Great host. Thank you for saying that, Laureen. Thank you for being here. I hope you guys come back and watch the show. Next week, I have Annette Marinaccio, who's the author of a book. I forget the name of the book offhand. I'm looking for her promos. Your Soul Focus is the name of her book. So she'll be
on here tonight.
What's that?
Is she on here tonight?
I didn't see her on here tonight, but I also did want to mention before we run out of here, I'm just going to add this to the stream. This is your website that's been kind of going down at the bottom. But I did notice that, again, I noticed the Aloha on there, but I noticed when I clicked on speaking events, you had this show being promoted and you made an offer. So I just wanted to talk about that. 20% off an Akashic reading. Just comment that you were here. And let Carla know that she affected you in any way, shape, or form, and I'm sure she'll work with you on that. But this was amazing. Yeah, again, we'll have you back. I mean, I don't think I've ever gone this long without even like realizing it. I mean, it was meant to be. So all good.
Thank you so much. It was beautiful. Thank you, everybody. For the impact that we all had with each other. And the one thing I want to take away is I haven't seen you with my eyes, but I've seen you with my heart. And we're all light and we're all love. And let that light shine. And understand this, so important, because I wish when I was younger, somebody said it to me in this way. But I'm going to share something real quick that was shared with me. But say I love you to you in the mirror every day. And say it in the mirror. My cousin Vinny, before he took his own life, he said that. He saved my life by telling me that every day. I love you. And I love you, Michael, and I love everybody that's here. Thank you.
I love you too. And, I totally love you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody soon.
Put me in the back quick because I